Hello, hi, and welcome to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. I'm your host, Martin Kester, and I'm as old as episode 4. In other words, I'm Star Wars years old. It's always been a part of my life, and since all of my guests tonight are within my age bracket, we'll start tonight with a simple your name and your favorite Star Wars memory. Starting, as always, to the person to my right. We've got two flights that are landing safely at the terminal tonight. I'm sorry. And starting with always to my person to the right. How are you, Mr. Sinibaldi?
I'm good tonight. How are you, Martin? um, so I would say, Star Wars has been a part of my life. I am Star Wars years old as well. As Star Wars has been in my life as far as I can remember. I have many, pretty fond memories of, different Star Wars experience. What you know, new movies coming out. But I would say one of my favorite, just probably because it's one of my oldest memories, is my parents taking my brother and I to the theater to see Return of the Jedi when it came out in 1983. It's hard to believe I was 6 years old when that movie came out, and my parents still took us to the theater, and it was great. I remember some of the neighborhood kids, some spoiling some of the parts to it. Like, oh, Darth Vader takes off his helmet and he's, and days I would certainly be, wouldn't be too happy if someone spoiled movie part like that. But when you're 6 years old, it's, um, it doesn't really matter as much. But so,
Oh,
but I would
moving.
say that going to the movies when I was 6 to see Return of the Jedi.
All right. Sorry. Uh, the other flight that we got landed in, your name, sir, which is already on the screen, obviously, but your Star Wars memory, Mr. DeBlasio.
I should unmute myself. It's not like I don't have 17 podcasts myself and know how to do this. Um, yes, I'm Chris, and I'm here from New Jersey. And my favorite Star Wars memory, apparently, I went to see Return of the Jedi with Mark and his family. Because my memory is my memory is basically the same thing. Although what I like, Mark, about that story is like that was real spoiler alerts. Like someone had to go see the movie and then come back to see it again to give you spoiler alerts, not just read dumb stuff on the internet. Um, but we went, Martin. I don't even know if you remember the movie theater on Route 17 by the Garden State Plaza. It was a threeplex, and it was my uncle Vinny, my late uncle Vinny, my late cousin Michael, my cousin Kevin, and my cousin Danny, and my dad, and me and my two brothers. It was what is that? 8 of us. I think my mom and a couple of my aunts were like visiting my aunt in Cincinnati, so it was like all the boys were home hanging out alone, and they took us all to go see Return of the Jedi. I remember standing in line in the rain, waiting for the tickets. I don't even remember the movie. I just remember the act of going to the movie. I mean, I've seen it since, so I remember.
Of course. Transitions brought to you tonight by unanswerable questions like, if you describe something as indescribable, haven't you already described it? If your belly is bare, is it barely a belly? And which armrest is yours in the movie theater anyway? Anyone? Left?
Right.
No?
Right.
All right.
It's a right-handed society. Sorry, lefties. It's a right-handed society.
Well, everyone's got to fight the cat, so I won't waste any time. I'm in the Star Wars mood tonight, obviously. Because of Star Wars Visions, it's this age that all this thing from something that was brand new to something that is brand new all the way from start to finish is why this whole thing, for at least this podcast, at least this time around. So I'm just going to ask you guys, pick one. Prequels, sequels, quick sentence, why? Chris?
This is going to be controversial. I'm going to say the prequels because The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker are maybe two of the worst movies ever made in the history of motion pictures.
Mark? anything, because I'm actually in somewhat agreement. I was going to say the prequels aren't as bad as everyone says, and everything from the prequels is like all the worlds we're dealing with now, the Mandalorian, the Clone Wars, and all that stuff like that is coming from the prequel. It's not coming from the sequel. It's coming from the stuff from before. It's like, yeah, no, that stuff's terrible. Let's deal with what we know is good. Or are you going to step on that, Mark? What prequels or sequels? What you got?
I'm gonna go the opposite, and I'm gonna say sequels. And the reason why is because I think maybe besides Rogue One, in my opinion, I think The Force Awakens is probably the best movie outside of the original trilogy, even though it's probably just a remake of Star Wars, of New Hope, you know. But I really do enjoy that movie, and I think it's the most rewatchable. But The Last Jedi is okay. It's not great. I see it has some good parts. I think it falls apart when the casino storyline is not necessary, and it kind of brings that movie when Finn goes to the casino, whatever, and then it brings that movie down. And unfortunately, The Rise of Skywalker is a real letdown. Hearing that J.J. Abrams was going to come back and what he did with with The Force Awakens, I was pretty excited about it. And then, just like, okay.
So here's the question: where does Rogue One not fit into it? Because it was made in this futuristic time, but it is. What's that? Is that 5? I'm trying to remember. When is that?
I don't consider Rogue One. Again, Rogue One and Solo, and that's the whole point of them, is they're not part of the canon or the part of the linear equation of the movie. So I'm not counting Rogue One.
Yeah,
I thought Rogue One because Rogue One is the guy who made the guy Olsen who made like the Death Star.
But it doesn't have the same characters. It's not
part of like the Skywalker lineage. Where all the other trilogies you can say are
like, yes, it fits in between number 3 and number 4. It fits in between
universe.
Yeah, okay. but I'm talking the linear 9, the Skywalker linear 9.
All right. Well, I'm just saying
because Rogue One was an excellent. Rogue One is an excellent movie. There's no two ways about that. It's just a really good movie.
But it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help either one, prequels or sequels.
No, once that lady directed that stupid Last Jedi movie, everything fell apart. Here, let me try to sum this up in as few sentences as possible, because I think Mark, I know, went with the sequels, but he admits there's some definite problems with them. Here's the problem with sequel. Prequels, there was too much. It was right at the height of, or the beginning height of, what's that?
Frozen
was really becoming like a major thing. So it was just too much CGI. Even you go back and watch them now, you're like, dude, this is so fake. It's not even like it was just too much CGI, I think. Don't get into, like, people love to get into me about the acting in the prequels, but let's not pretend like Carrie Fisher acted well in those first couple movies. She was awful, okay? You're not winning Academy Awards, Carrie Fisher's acting. So the problem with this, the prequels had a fit. They had a shoehorn storyline to fit with the 3 that were already there. The sequels could take the storylines and really go anywhere they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So they had a little more freedom with that. So there's not as many people going, well, it's not as many nerds going, well, the so-and-so and the so-and-so and the so-and-so.
True.
So the sequels had a little more leeway when it came to storyline.
Yeah.
I agree with Mark. I mean, The Force Awakens is not a bad movie, but it's just A New Hope with a girl.
And I would say with regards to the prequels, like Revenge of the Sith is not a bad movie either. It's just, the clone, like Attack of the Clones, like when Padme and Anakin are on like her planet, it's just like
that's like the casino part of the last. It's just like, dude,
anything anything with Ewan McGregor is good, but it was just like
That's what I was gonna say. Whatever the first one was called. I'm sorry. The going and seeing the pod racing, seeing inside in the movie theater for the first time, that was an experience. That was something that was to be had. And yeah, it's the kind of thing that you like to get when on a birthday. So one birthday that I can clearly remember from my youth, my mom decided to throw me a Star Wars party. See, there's a Darth Vader cake pan that she got that we had that growing up that was still, underneath in the cabinets and everything like that. But it was for that party. She got a projector and a screen and a reel of Empire. And we watched Empire, and she told everybody to bring Star Wars toys. And everybody got Star Wars toys. Everybody's gotten Star Wars toys. They're still getting Star Wars toys today. So what was your favorite Star Wars toy? Mark, what was your favorite Star Wars toy? Or what was the one that you always wanted? And he's going to get it. So go ahead. So what's yours?
My brother and I, again, growing up, fans of Star Wars, we had a bunch of toys, action figures, but my favorite toy is probably the original Millennium Falcon, which we had. I remember the top came off, to bring you inside, like the inside, but it was just, it was like it was awesome. We had other things, but it was always like the Millennium Falcon. The original Millennium Falcon was the best toy that we probably had, I would say. Now I don't know if there's anything that I'd wish. Maybe the Lego Millennium Falcon that's like 1,000 pieces or more than that. But yeah, my favorite toy from back then was definitely the original Millennium Falcon.
Chris?
Oh,
it's now that
my Mandalorian lunchbox that I bring to school with me every day, and the kids love it.
Sweet.
That is not my favorite toy, but I just figured I'd show that. Once you said that, I was like, well, let me get my Mandalorian lunchbox. You know what? I don't even like the Mandalorian that much. I happened to be in CVS like 2 weeks before school started, and I saw it, and I was like, that's pretty cool lunchbox, so I'm getting that.
Okay.
My favorite toy, hang on, there's a train going through my apartment. You can probably hear that. Don't worry, he'll ring the horn loud enough so that everyone hears it.
Oh.
Now is he? Yeah, nice. He's coming. He's coming. People on the NJ Transit commuter line. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
There he is.
See, the problem with doing podcasts from my apartment. So we had all the same toys that Mark talked about. Obviously, I had the Millennium Falcon, which was the coolest thing ever when you first got it, right? I have my oldest brother is a giant Star Wars nerd, so he literally had every toy under the sun. We had the Millennium Falcon, which was the Death Star, which was like a 3-tiered thing, and the action figures. Remember, they had those action figures back in the day, had the little hole in the foot, and there would be a little thing, and you could attach them, to it. At the same time, I was a big He-Man guy, so I had the Masters of the Universe. I had the Castle of Grayskull, and what was the other guy's castle? Skeletor's castle. Yeah. So we would
mix and match it all. You'd have shared universes back.
Yeah. But we had this random Han Solo doll, which was probably about 1.5 feet tall. It was like a big, thick, hard plastic thing. So every time we would play, it would just end with a giant Han Solo just destroying everything.
Well, tonight's transitions are brought to you by unanswerable questions like, what is the color of a mirror? Why do noses run but feet smell? And why is Goofy considered a person and Pluto considered a pet when they're both dogs anyway?
I never thought that was true. I just think Goofy was a dog that walked on 2 legs and could talk. I don't think anyone
But Pluto was taken for walks. They treated him like he was a dog.
Either way, that's what happens. Creatures get taken for walks. Learn to speak like Donald Duck.
Either way, both of these animated animals are known, despite the fact that no one finds them funny and hasn't in at least half a century. But Disney was able to successfully push these icons to a pop culture that didn't even like them. This culture wants.
Did we lose Martin?
I think so.
Well, that's not good. Hello? Hey.
Hello? Back in. Good. Hello?
Hey,
No, you were the one that your thing
you
froze.
you froze while
I
you were
froze.
talking.
Okay, yeah. When I was talking, all right, well, I'll just come back to the fact it was the whole point of we want to like sports guys, we want these guys to get through, but yet not all of them get through. So here the question is just out there, who do you think is more known to non-sports fans? Dan Marino or Joe Montana? Mark?
I don't know. That's tough to say. I don't believe Joe Montana had a starring role in one of the biggest comedies in the '90s, in Ace Ventura. So, I mean, he does do those Skechers commercials. So,
He did host Saturday Night Live.
Joe Montana did.
Joe Montana hosted Saturday Night Live. It's a very, very funny clip of Joe Montana hosting Saturday Night Live. It's Joe Montana and Phil Hartman. Yeah, he hosted like in '84, like after they won then.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. It might be Montana. Just for non. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to believe that non-sports fans would not hear those names or not know who they are.
Well, not everybody's a sports fan, Chris.
I know. No, that's.
Yeah, who do you think, Chris? Who do you think, Montana or Marino?
Could we have just picked two like older, whiter guys that are no longer in the zeitgeist whatsoever? If this was 1992, this would have been turned in question.
That's my point. but that they're not in it now. But for a moment they were. For an entire decade they were. The entire anybody at any point in the '80s, just about you could say those names. Into the '90s, you could say those names and you know it. And now they're not. And
I would say
later.
I would only say, and I agree with what Mark's saying with the movie thing with Marino, but like I know just as many people who haven't seen Ace Ventura who haven't ever watched the Super Bowl either. So I would say Montana only simply because of his success as being a four-time. And now the Super Bowl wasn't as big as it was then as it is now, but it was still an iconic thing, and he won 4 of them and is, not that Dan Marino's not a great quarterback. I mean, we're sports fans here. We know Dan Marino's, but I mean, they were both on pre-game NFL shows. I don't even watch pre-game NFL shows. So
they're not on. Are they on pre-game?
Well, I'm not saying they used to be. They both were at some point. Dan Marino did those isotoner commercials, and
Yeah, I remember the Isotona commercials, but Montana's not really been. I thought Montana just kind of.
Yeah, no, neither one of them. Like I said, I don't think either one of them in the last 15 years are in. Again, sports fan. Like you'll see Dan Marino and somebody like, oh, Dan Marino, he's still alive. It's kind of one of those, and I'm a sports fan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I see Frank Thomas on Nugenix commercials more than I see Joe Montana on Skechers commercials.
So, we're sports fans. Everybody knows Muhammad Ali, regardless. That's my point. These are people that have pushed through, that are passed into pop culture beyond sports. Muhammad Ali is beyond sports. Mike Tyson is beyond sports, and that's going to be, unfortunately, the last person that a generation is going to grow up and go, that's the heavyweight champion. Mike Tyson is the heavyweight champion, and that means something. You know what I mean? Like that he's the last one, because it's going to. So, but Floyd, whether you like him or not, is the last boxer. Is he going to be the last boxer that's going to be the breakthrough that that beyond people who beyond sports fans knowing, or is that it?
I would say maybe say Manny Pacquiao, just because if he continues, I think he's going to be, get into politics, and you might see his name in that area. But also just with boxing's not, it's not what it used to be. I mean, back in, you said we're, talking about Star Wars and old quarterbacks from the 80s. I mean, back you had, multiple boxers, with Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler that were, household names back then in the 80s. Now it's, now it's more MMA. Like boxing's kind of, as a like a real, big event sport, it's kind of gone away. I mean, you have Tyson Fury fights that are, that are still popular, I guess, but I think Floyd might be the last one you says to break, to kind of break through and stay, maybe, it depends on what he does, if he still stays in the, in the pop culture mainstream, or whatever he does.
So, Chris, I'll ask you this then. It's still going to be an Olympic sport, right? They're not going to take it out of the Olympics. So therefore, if it is still an Olympic sport, and it is still something that NBC or a network like it will be boosting up every 4 years, that'll tell you this is the next big hope for this and blah, 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 blah. Is it possible that it could possibly come back at some point as the sport it is? Not MMA, not that boxing. Boxing, the sport of boxing has been around for years. It's made it through all of this,
Jack Johnson and
everything like that, to today. But it was
150 years boxing's been around. 150 years.
But it was still boxing. It was still that. It wasn't, it. So to see it, to say that it's going to become, it's like everybody says that. I just can't believe it. Am I being too stubborn or no?
Here's why. Okay, so you're mentioning the Olympic aspect of it. During the Olympics, I think I posted on the Facebook that I absolutely love the Olympics. Unabashedly, I watch every random flippin' sport that is on during the Olympics that I know nothing about, and I'm engrossed in it totally for those 2 weeks. I don't care the day before the Olympics start, and I haven't cared about badminton since they ended in August, right? Martin, I'm telling you, I got to go back and find the post. And I went through, like, in a 3-day span, I watched like 13 different sports. You know what sport wasn't one of them?
Boxing.
I watched archery, gold medal finals, mixed doubles, boys and girls. Like, I watched that for like an hour one day. I never found a boxing match on. And now again, I'm a boxing fan growing up. 88 Seoul Olympics, Riddick Bowe, didn't he miss the bus or whatever? Didn't he miss the bus to his medal match? I grew up on this. I didn't watch 1 ounce of boxing in the Olympics. And I watched 7 billion hours of random Olympic sports. Stuff you didn't even know existed.
Well, that's possible. But so Sydney, do you think can you see a time of can you see boxing ever possibly coming back? Would you ever find, can you find somebody else that's going to be the heavyweight champ? That's going to mean something. Can you see that meaning something in the future, I guess?
I mean, I wish it could happen. I just don't see it. I mean, like I said, who's the heavyweight champion now? Is this Tyson Fury?
I have no idea.
It's like you don't know. That's it. You don't know. Because I don't know. I don't. Again, because I said I think MMA is kind of taken over. I don't watch MMA, but aren't there MMA like fights every weekend? So there's no. It's not that it's like it's been. There's nothing big no big events to look forward to. Like boxing matches used to be big events, and it just is. I don't know. They happen on occasion, and I remember. I think I watched the last Fury Wilder fight, and it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't bad. But they just there's just no charismatic guys that I think are really or that I'm really drawn to. That it's like, oh, I can't wait to see this person fight again. It's just and the last one would have probably been, like I said, Pacquiao and
time's on.
And that happened in Pacquiao and
Mayweather.
Mayweather.
Yeah, that happened way too late.
Yeah, it happened 6 years too late.
Yeah,
because your boy kept ducking Pacquiao. Anyway, Martin, I hate to do this, but and what Sydney's saying, like, who's the heavyweight champ of the world? Like, I think it's Tyson Fury. It might be. Is it Anthony Joshua? Like, I've heard names. Obviously, I know who Canelo Alvarez is. Triple G. I hear some names here and there. But if you put I hate to do this kind of stupid experiment. You put a gun to someone's head, and you said, "Name me one professional boxer." Most people are going to name that YouTube guy who boxes. Jake Paul or whatever.
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. Yeah.
And I mean, I know the one's starting to make a fairly legitimate career out of it. Like, he's actually a decent boxer. But like, I think if you told the people to name a current boxer, that would be the one you would get most.
And you know what? I can't think that I don't see anything wrong with it, because that goes back to the same roots we were talking about, because that was all boxing was. It was a front show of a guy who would go around to a different town and say, "I'll beat up your toughest guy here in front of this ring over here." In that kind of, if that's all he's doing, he's gonna walk around and get his butt beat, then that's fine. That's fine with me if he's trying to, but either way.
Or you could have went around from town to town, and you could have the whammer strike out the natural.
That's possible. That's possible. But
no, the natural struck out the whammer. I'm sorry. Robert Redford struck out what's his face? Joe Don Baker.
Oh, I was never a big fan of that. Yeah. And clearly, if we're talking about Robert Redford, then we're at the end of this. So, in closing, can you describe an argument as concluding if it finishes, but no conclusions were made? Here's hoping you describe this time as entertaining for a time. I'd like to thank my guests, Chris and Mark, and wish all of you a safe flight back home. Have a good evening.
I thought we answered